Welcome to Just Relationships, the show that offers you concrete ways to make your relationships better. Whether it's your boss, your spouse, your children, or your friends, the quality of your relationships in life directly affects how you feel about yourself and the success you achieve. Your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer, a psychotherapist, telecoach, author, and seminar leader, will interview top experts to help you learn to manage this essential part of your life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer.
Greetings to you. Welcome to Just Relationships. Well, as I promised you last week, this is part 2 of Relationship Protocol. Debra Roberts is back, and in her book, The Relationship Protocol, How to Talk, Defuse, and Build Healthier Relationships. This is just par excellence for just relationships. We actually have it all in one book. Can you imagine? So I am going to recap, Debra, for you. I know you talk about this stuff so much, but just for people who may not have heard last week's show, that in your relationship protocol model, you look at 2 key elements and 4 steps. And the first key element is making a commitment to make your relationship better. And that commitment has to be consistent. And you basically are talking about how and thinking about how important that relationship is to you. And the second key element is shifting your thinking from what is wrong to what is right in the relationship, and also to shift your thinking from me to we. And we live in a society of toxic individualism where many people have the solo perspective. It's all about me. We even called it the me generation. And I think we have that back in full force. So to be relationship oriented, just relationships, to be relational. And then we move into the steps, which is the how-tos, how to communicate, how to build trust, and how to reduce emotional escalations. Step 1 is to state your positive intention. I want to get along with you. I want to be closer to you. I don't want to fight with you. Step 2, I choose to be kind. I literally choose to be kind, not to be mean or sarcastic. Step 3, I am never going to do anything to intentionally hurt you. And you can add from now on if you have done those hurtful things in the past. And I would say, Debra, that unfortunately, dinosaur brain, reptile brain, whatever you want to call it, that when we feel hurt, we can often want to hurt back because we don't feel the empathy from the other person. You have no idea how much you hurt me. So here, I'll do the same to you. So I will show you how much I was hurt.
That's
and
right.
In last week's show, you talked about, of course, the golden rule. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. And the 4th and final step, I choose to give you the benefit of the doubt. So the negative interpretations that people often make of each other, what our interpretive habits, as Martin Seligman, the founder of positive psychology, talks about, what are our interpretive habits? How do we interpret our worlds? So it's simple to understand in terms of values and good basic English words. And it's hard, I think, to achieve, but it doesn't mean that we can't achieve it if we practice due diligence.
That's right.
Yeah.
If we make that effort, even if you pick one of the elements and you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to focus on being kind. I actually have on my website, the Relationship Protocol, I recommend that people do my 24-hour benefit of the doubt challenge. And I ask that for the next 24 hours, when you're having a conversation with someone, it could be an important person in your life or everyone you talk to, your choice, give them the benefit of the doubt. Give them the benefit of the doubt that they want to get along with you, that they're doing their best, that you want to both have a good outcome. Whatever it is that you want to achieve, assume that they do as well. Give them the benefit of the doubt for 24 hours and see how that changes you. In addition to the outcome, how you come across to them being more open, but watch how it opens you up as well. When we give people the benefit of the doubt, it does have a little bit more of an optimistic approach. It's a natural opening that exists that didn't exist before.
I love that, Debra Roberts, author of The Relationship Protocol. Can you tell us how to access that 24-hour challenge?
Sure. Basically, I'm telling you what it is, but if it's on my website, just in my About Debra page, I say, do my challenge, because I want people to see that what I teach is so logical and it makes sense. I don't think there's a 4-syllable word anywhere. It's not fancy. I want you to understand the power that you have, that we all have, in shifting just a little piece of how we present ourselves, how we think, how we look at other people can change so much.
Oh, it's so powerful, Debra Roberts. So how do we access you online?
Yeah, so my website is therelationshipprotocol.com. Mm-hmm. I'm also active on LinkedIn, Debra, Debra Roberts, and The Relationship Protocol on Instagram.
So on LinkedIn under Debra Roberts.
Yes.
And on Instagram, it's The Relationship Protocol.
Yes.
And your website is The Relationship Protocol.
That's right. And everything's on there as well.
And everything is on there as well. Thank you so much for being so generous with us. It's so needed. It's so needed. Again, it's so powerful. What I tell my clients is I always make the distinction between intention versus impact. Mm-hmm. And you talk about the intention. I don't choose to hurt you. I don't want to hurt you. Mm-hmm. I never want to intentionally hurt you. And from now on, how can we help people not have that sense of revenge? Well, I want you to know how this feels like, because what precedes that is someone demonstrating empathy.
That's right.
So I don't have to show you. Yeah.
The way that those things change, again, is we have to want to change them. I mentioned that last time. And what happens is, if you look at everything that I teach and the relationship protocol model in its totality, if I am committed to you, if you matter to me, and if I'm turned towards you because this relationship is important or my job is important, then how I treat you and how I show up in this interaction has to shift, because me being revengeful hurts me, hurts you, hurts the relationship. If I can't, then I have to look at what's triggering me, that's stopping me from allowing me to get past that, stopping me from getting past the hurt or the whatever offense, that I feel that you've done to me. It's my job to understand, why can't I get past that? I want to get past that. But it has to start from a desire to get along, a desire to be different and to be the best that you can be. If the other person is going to be a jerk, for lack of a bigger word, then make a choice. You don't have to meet them where they are. You don't have to rise to the occasion. You can make a choice of how you respond. I always say, I'm sure you say this too, we cannot control anybody but ourselves. I can control how I approach you and I can control how I respond to you. But everybody has the ability to change the trajectory of an interaction and the trajectory of a relationship with what's within our control.
Right. And I cannot control you.
That's right.
I can influence you.
That's right.
Which I don't think we give enough airspace to, the difference between controlling and influencing. Mm-hmm. I know I'm very good at negatively influencing people. I can negatively influence my husband in a heartbeat. All I have to do is say one thing and he's, whoa! And so if we take that power and apply it to positive influence,
that's right.
It's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
And I think and I love that because it's also empowering for us as individuals that we all have the power to be the best person that we want to be during our interactions. Being more thoughtful, taking a moment, as I call it, hitting the pause button and thinking, what do I want to say next? And if I'm not sure, saying, let me think about it. Give me a moment. I appreciate your feedback, or I don't like the way you're talking to me, and I don't want to say something I'm going to regret. Give yourself that space to do what you need to do to be more thoughtful in your response rather than being reactive. There are so many options. It's not a knee-jerk response because that's how we get in trouble. That's how I get in trouble. So I don't recommend it.
Right. And I love Covey's term, push the internal pause button. And I also refer to it as the sacred pause. Mm-hmm. The sacred pause. So because the old brain takes things in instantly and the new brain takes them in slower because the new brain has to process and catch up and think.
That's right.
And deliberate.
And when we are communicating, that we are also not just participating in the conversation, but also observing what's going on, so that the two parts are actually active during the conversation, which gives us the ability to say, oh, this is getting tense, or I don't like where this is headed, or I hear how I'm coming across, or I'm feeling upset inside, I'm churning. Now I'm noticing things. And rather than just continuing, stop the action and say to yourself and or to the other person, we need to settle down. We need to think this through. This isn't heading in a good direction, rather than just continuing.
Yes, and that key to be the observer to self.
That's right.
And how many people can look outside of themselves and then look back and say, this is something that I want to continue or not to continue.
Exactly.
Yeah. So can we get back to triggers?
Yes.
Let's really, because my contention is that a lot of people live their lives practically triggered. They're off balance a lot. And so I think in order to identify our triggers, we have to be able to know when we're centered.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So you say, okay, I'm centered now. And I ask my patients or my clients, I ask them, how do you know when you're triggered? Mm-hmm. How do you know that? And most people don't know the language of the body, which is separate from body language. It's the internal language of the body.
That's right.
Well, my heart is beating faster. My shoulders are hunching up. I notice my jaw is tightening. Right. That's how I know I'm triggered. And then what do? Number one, stop. As you say, buy time. Buy time. Yeah. So what else about triggering should we know? Debra Roberts, author of The Relationship Protocol.
I love that you mentioned understanding and looking at our own bodies and what the reaction is, because even as a clinician for many years, until I became a trauma therapist learning EMDR, I didn't understand how connected the body was. So if I didn't get it, I totally understand how the general population isn't fully recognizing that our bodies have memory, that they respond. But as soon as you know that and you start paying attention, so much can shift. So I love that you mentioned that. So if you bring self-awareness into your life where you are checking in with yourself and you have more of an understanding of when you're centered, when you're grounded, when things are calm, and you know how you interact with your environment, how you respond, how you affect people, all that good stuff. When you realize that you are triggered, meaning that you're having a potentially irrational response, overly emotional response, I always give the example of road rage because it's just a simple example that you're driving and the next thing you know, you're ready to ram your car into the person in front of you, realizing, ooh, that's not a good move. What just happened? you were triggered. The person doesn't know you. They're not saying, hey, let me disrespect that guy in the Chevy. So I think it's really important that there's a recognition that the behavior is not appropriate or it's an exaggeration of whatever's going on. So the first thing that I highly recommend, and I actually have a proprietary system that I teach, but in simple terms, it's what are the facts? Look at the facts of the situation and the true facts, recognizing that you are in a heightened state right now. If you start by looking at the facts, if it's road rage, it's this stranger was driving next to me and then cut me off. Those are the facts. Well, I'm upset because they disrespected me. Do they know me? No. Do I know them? No. So logically, did they do something to me to make me feel disrespected? And the answer is no. And also, if I have someone else in the car, have I endangered their life as well? And they're telling me that they're upset, they're scared, or angry that this is what's going on. So I think when we look at the facts of a situation, then we say, what do I need to do to calm myself down? And it's our job, whether it's breathing, feeling your feet on the floor, any exercises that people can do to slow their system down and recognize it. You can go further with it, trying to understand where it came from and what that means. I don't know that we want to get into that here, but I think it's important to recognize the key to recognizing it, just a little cue there, is how did that person make me or situation make me feel about myself? And that's usually at the core of the trigger, right? I felt disrespected. They made me feel inadequate, stupid, ugly, whatever it is. Those negative, old, yucky beliefs or crummy things that live inside of us, ones that pop up in those moments and we don't expect it. So that's my cursory explanation of triggers.
Well, let's just stay with that for a moment.
Sure.
That's a key question. How does this person make me feel about myself?
That's right.
And then we have to move into our own negative self-talk and our own toxic self-beliefs. I'm incompetent. I'm not enough. I'm bad. The root of all shame is not that I did something bad, but I am bad as a person. And how common these beliefs are. Many of us carry this around in differing amounts, but the idea of somewhere I'm inadequate, I'm not enough, I am less than.
That's right.
And I cannot tolerate the pain of that. So let me scapegoat you. Let me make you less than me so I don't have to feel inferior. I can feel superior. And I think that scapegoating, that one-upsmanship, that's the reason for that.
Yeah, I agree with you, definitely. And the other side of that is you can be in a relationship with someone or have a boss who treats you a negative way for an extended period of time and makes you start to feel badly about yourself. And then that starts to trigger you too. So many times, most often it is what you're saying. And sometimes it does become a traumatic experience where we feel unsafe or something that we didn't really have as much control or a part of our history that is our own insecurities. So sometimes it can come from external too. But either way, the feeling is powerful and it's raw. It's so raw of, you're demeaning me and you're making me feel that way. And a lot of it is, I feel that way and I don't like that you're doing that to me. But sometimes it does have a relational or a complex trauma piece. It can be, there's intensity with those feelings. So it's very important to know what your triggers are, what trips you up, what the hot topics are, and to pay attention. If you bring awareness, it usually isn't, like I'm snapping my fingers to show it's not usually I'm fine and then I'm on fire. But if I'm 0 to 100, that's a real trigger. That's something if anybody can connect with that, you have a responsibility to figure out, why am I going from 0 to 100? I don't want to function that way. It's not good for me and it's not good for the people around me. It's not good for anyone. If you have a trigger that builds, catch it. And before, don't be an observer of it. Stop and say, whoa, what's going on here? How am I feeling about myself? What do I need to do? What are the facts here? We have a responsibility to, again, show up in the healthiest way possible, not just being reactive to everything that happens without any responsibility. That's actually a good little mantra. No reactivity without responsibility.
I like that. I'm writing it down, Debra Roberts.
I might write it down
no
too.
Reactivity without responsibility. Yes, we can't afford to be reactive. We want to be responsive, to respond to ourselves.
That's right.
And therefore we can respond to others. So it's so powerful, even if we say, choose to be kind. Okay, I choose to be kind today. And I think even the most jaded person, if you really ask them, do you know what that's like? I mean, do you know how to be kind? What does it mean to be kind?
Right.
I think they'd be able to tell you.
I agree.
Even the most bitter person, and so many people are bitter because they feel so shortchanged in their own lives.
Yeah.
So not only do I believe I'm less, but I have less than you.
And I've been treated as if I'm less. Yeah.
I've been treated as if I'm less. So what I love about you, you're a social worker and you have been educated in systems theory, and systems are all relationships are systems. And what you use the metaphor of the gears.
Yeah.
The gears in a clock. And because I go to this because people may be wondering at this point, well, I can be all these wonderful things, but what about you? I can,
the rest
right?
Of us.
Yeah, I can tell you, hey, you're hurting me. And you can say, I don't care. You deserve to be hurt. You're bad.
Right.
So can you tell people the relationship between, and this happens so often, if a woman wants to help her marriage and her husband refuses to go into therapy, I always tell her, you can still help your marriage.
That's right.
Because your marriage is a system with all parts interrelated, like the gears of a clock. Yeah. So can you explain that?
Absolutely. We can double tag people. I describe, similar to what you say, as that all of our relationships, family systems, work systems, wherever we're involved, are like the gears of a clock. So if you envision the gears, how they interlock with each other, when one moves, it forces all of the others to move, whether it's one other gear or 12 gears, they all move in sync. And if one of those gears slows down, stops, or speeds up, it again forces the others to change. What we're talking about is if you consistently show up and you're kind and you refuse to engage in a challenging interaction, in an interaction that you know is going to lead to a battle, and it has in the past, but you choose to stay kind, you choose to not engage, then that battle will not continue in the same way. And eventually, your partner will start to notice, or anyone around you will start to notice that you have changed, and it forces them to change. Even if it's subtle, it doesn't mean you're going to get a breakthrough, but you will, there's at least an option. And that's something that is hopeful to me. And I always encourage people to be true to themselves, be true to how they want to behave in their interactions, because that's all we can control. And that's a lot. That's 50% right there. So make it the best 50% that it can be.
Yes, yes. And when you say it's all in sync and it forces them to change, I'm thinking about when I interviewed John Gray on Just Relationships, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Right.
And I asked him this similar question about system. And he said that the person may not change overtly in that moment, but you are making points.
I love that.
I thought that was great. You are making points. They take into consideration, right. She didn't chastise me because I forgot the milk.
That's right.
And he even gave the words that a woman should say to a man when he makes a mistake. No biggie. And you mean so I don't have to posture myself to be so defensive because you're not attacking me because I forgot the milk?
That's right. And omission matters.
Yes. Omission, yes. Mm-hmm. Omission matters as much as commission. I didn't tell a lie. I didn't say anything. Yes, exactly.
Boy, we could be in trouble.
Yes, exactly. So people, we have to close. So I want to leave you with this concept of hang in there and trust that you just keep showing up differently and other people will as well. And before we close, Debra Roberts, you're also doing something very significant for the workplace. So what is that we can access?
I wanted to bring this to even more people and help to support and change the culture in the workplace today. So I created an online course for the workplace that teaches all of the same concepts, but I actually changed the model a little bit. I tweaked it. It's the same six components, but it's the relationship protocol at work. It's a little bit more formal because this model is more interpersonal oriented, but it's an 8-lesson course. It's so powerful. I'm so proud of it. It teaches self-awareness, the basic communication skills, and there's a master class on coping because I call it the trifecta. If you have any of those things, if you have self-awareness, if you have these communication skills, the relationship protocol, and coping skills, you can show up fully. If you only have one or you don't have all three, you're missing something and you're not going to be able to fully support yourself. So I put them all in this program. And there's also the masterclass is also a product that a company can just do for a wellness program. It's called Life Strategies for Wellness. So anything that I can do to influence companies and organizations, nonprofit organizations to support their employees and their people is what I'm all about to get this out in the world in a bigger way. And people can learn about that off of my website, The Relationship Protocol. It's called that program, called Communication Protocol.
So if you go to Debra Roberts' website, The Relationship Protocol, you will also see the Communication Protocol, which is a little bit more formal and geared to the workplace. And
I have to say, I feel like this is my legacy. All my many years of work poured into this with such love. And I'm very, very proud of it. So, and I feel that, Debra Roberts, the love, the generosity, the desire to give, the desire to help. And you have found your calling. Thank you. I am on a mission. I have to say, as someone who wanted to just be in my office for many years, I'm definitely on a mission to make the world a more communicative place and a more peaceful place, even when we have our differences. And boy, do we need you in the world, Debra Roberts. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you again, Debra Roberts, author of The Relationship Protocol, How to Talk, Defuse, and Build Healthier Relationships. Well, as I said to you, this is the prototype for just relationships. This is wonderful. Thanks again. And this is Dr. Duffy Spencer saying goodbye for now and wishing you great relationships.